So this is really an informational session about an on-demand professional learning that we call Language and Literacy U. Now, how did this really get started? And we talked a little bit about just our background and experiences, but I'm in my 31st year of teaching. I know we don't look that old, but we really are that old. So when I was in KCK, we did the Reading Excellence Grant, and then I moved to KU and worked on Kansas Reading First, and we had that statewide professional learning called the Kansas Reading Academy. It had these big fat notebooks that you got when you came to that. And when that grant was over, I decided to just do literacy consulting, and I started that in 2010. And we worked with the State Department of Tennessee. Both Jerry and I did this project, and we were helping them build these modules that could be facilitated in Tennessee. And it kind of got my brain thinking about, like, how could this work? Like, if I put together a presentation, but somebody else presented it. And then comes the LINC grant, and we worked closely at both the state leadership team, but I also worked with individual school districts and individual grantees to help them. And there were things we were producing for them that I wanted to retain ownership of, that I didn't, they wanted online, on-demand kinds of things, but where would it be housed? Who, kept track of it? And so that combined with, I'm also my other hat is to be the reading specialist program coordinator for Mid-America University in Olathe. And so I'm doing all of this asynchronous learning for teaching, and had this idea all along of like, well, how could we build something like this so that people could have things that were really on demand? And then came the pandemic, which really catapulted us, because it was like we couldn't go out to schools and be with them in person. We had to create kind of these on-demand things, and I wasn't traveling so much, so it gave us time to do that. So when we think about kind of this on-demand learning, one of the things that we've both learned about over time is that there are these challenges to professional development at a systems level, right? Number one, what's the research? Now, this came out when we were doing the LINC grant, and we start, trying to help people write it. People are like, I don't know what the research is about second language learning. I don't know what the research is. I mean, I can't spout it off the top of my head. Think of all the school districts that the superintendent is the person who does everything in the district. They can't do that. Well, I spent another thing that's a challenge is this: how do I do this repetitive professional learning on the topics I've already taught? So when you're in a grant, you have these people in front of you for a period of time, and they get all the training. But what happens when they leave and then new people come in? How do I catch them up? And how do I make it be flexible by group size? How can I do like the whole district? How can I do just high school? How can I do just preschool? How can I make it available when the teacher wants to participate? Okay. And sometimes we have professional learning days, but sometimes what I've learned in my college teaching is that people want to do it late at night when the kids are asleep and they can think and they have peace and quiet. How can I connect it to coaching so that implementation is part of that? And I need something because no substitutes are available. How do I have professional learning because I don't have any substitutes? And then how do I get documentation of professional learning in that college credit? So all of these are challenges for system-wide professional learning that really fills all the holes, and all the teachers know what they're supposed to be doing at the same time, right? So here are some of the solutions. I engaged with Dr. Diane Nielsen from KU, and we dug into all of the research on the major kind of components of reading and language. And we created something called the core components documents. And I'll show those to you in a minute. But these are, short briefs that identified what are the key aspects of phonics, what are the key aspects of phonological awareness, of vocabulary. And then we based our modules around that. These foundational modules in Language and Literacy U can be used over and over again. So maybe I have one district right now who wanted to launch writing. And so they're using the writing module at all levels. And then as new people come in, they can just say, I need you to complete that module on writing within your own time, whenever you want to do it. And everybody will have the same information. You can use this as if a whole district comes together and does it on the same day. Maybe just the school uses that online and you have a facilitator there, a professional learning community, or just one person can use it. You can use it. I mean, it's available anytime. We selected the platform called Teachable that allows me to have some control over people have to have an account. They have to, and I can organize the information that's in there and I can keep track of, did they really go through the modules? And at the end of each module, they create an action plan. And so that action plan is where a coach could come in and say, okay, so you've been through this writing module. Where are you at? What do you think you want to tackle and you want to implement based on the information that you've learned throughout this module? You don't need substitutes because you can do it anytime. It can be available when you don't need a consultant there, anytime. And then at the end of each course, there's a certificate of completion that is awarded that can be turned into Professional Learning Office for points or credit towards the goal. They also can take it for college credit, which a lot of teachers like to know, can I get college credit for that? That's available through Mid-America, which is the university that I work with the Reading Specialist program. So I feel like this really does tick a lot of boxes. It solves a lot of challenges, a lot of issues that school districts deal with a lot. And then, of course, with the science of reading, we've been really involved in kind of linking together everything that works, right? Making sure Scarborough's reading rope is included in everything and connecting it to structured literacy. So these are all of the science of reading modules that we have. Okay, here are all the options for science of reading. Figure out where you're at as a teacher, if you want to do it like that, or you want to be more pragmatic and everybody goes through the same thing. And then teachers can select what they want, which modules they want to go through and kind of think about where they're at. Okay. So let me take you in and show you online. Have you explored it at all, or this is kind of your first glance at it?
Just kind of the first glance at it. So,
okay. Perfect. So when you go to Language and Literacy U, again, it's on that platform of Teachable. So you'll notice that Teachable is in the URL there at the top, but you'll see just this front page. If you are working with schools and districts and want to share with them, here's a short video that explains what it is. Some of the people that are using it, Greenbush Service Center is using it in the capacity of, they've offered it in a little package deal where some of their schools have paid more to have more support. And so our online is one of the things that they feature to try and get people to engage in this coaching and, kind of extra resources. So that might be useful to you, thinking about it through a service center lens. Dodge City has it, Garden City has it, and other places. And then this is just us on the front. Susie Myers is part of our project too. And then Tanya Belgum is a good friend of ours whose daughter was dyslexic. And they discovered that when she was a fifth grader. She's now a senior in high school. And she has a live dyslexia tutoring business where she works all the time helping dyslexic kids. So she's the one that has helped me with creating two very complete modules on dyslexia. So when you click on this Learn More, you'll see all of the modules that are available to you. There are some short courses, what we call short courses, which means that they can be done very quickly, maybe an hour to they're short, brief things that you might want to do. I created this one on structured literacy, how it fits, because I was hearing a lot of people say, well, this structured literacy, this is all new. And that didn't really seem to me as if that were true. I was like, well, I've known about phonological awareness and phonics and vocabulary and comprehension and syllables, and I've known about all this stuff for a long time. So I wanted to show people how it all really integrated. So that's one of my short courses. I think it's a good way to help people see how it really does integrate. Jerry's created one about the ABCs. So we're really a pre-K to grade 12 kind of platform that all of these things can be done at lots of different levels. And then we have longer modules. So here's all the science of reading things that we have. This is the teaching principles is what I created for KSDE, the teaching and leading project. They have some modules of their own on there, and I created that for them, and they agreed to let me put it on here with mine as long as I provided it for free, which is fine with me. But we really talk about all of Scarborough's rope in here in the science of reading modules. It's pretty complete, and that was my goal. But we also have a lot when it comes to writing. There's a lot of school districts that have really not, I guess, nurtured that kind of topic. And so we, this developing writers course, I had about, 60 to 80 people go through it through the Greenbush Service Center and the Link Grant. They encouraged people and got lots of really great feedback from going through that module. Second language learners. Jerry's really responsible for the English language learner modules. Do you want to talk any about that, Jerry, and just kind of talk about culturally responsive teaching and the things that are available there?
Sure. Both of these modules have sessions within them. So the culturally responsive teaching session or module has 5 sessions that really guides participants through those beginning foundational pieces of critical reflection and just really looking at their own belief systems and trying to look and see ways in which that they could become more culturally proficient in their practice by reflecting on their own beliefs. And then it moves through sessions that focus on different areas like biography-driven instruction, scaffolding language, increasing motivation and engagement, things that are definitely challenges for those of us that work with second language. And then finally, it moves to supporting teachers in implementation, because as you know, with working with ESL and teachers that have endorsements, a lot of times that's kind of where it stops, is you get the information and then nothing really changes in the classroom. So that last session is really geared on trying to support teachers in moving to implementation and connecting them with coaches and things that can help them to do that where it's embedded. And then the writing support is a 3-session module that deals with things specifically for those upper elementary, middle school, high school students when their language proficiency may be high speaking, but it really focuses on scaffolding them from speaking all the way to the writing domain. So those are there for ESL support.
Yeah. We also have some early childhood. I created one for a Pittsburgh preschool. They really wanted something about language. So this is really about how to develop language in early childhood. And every time they hire somebody new, they send them through the module so that everybody that works at the center has the same information. So it's just funny because periodically I'll get a new person enrolling and I go, oh, must be somebody got hired at the Family Resource Center in Pittsburgh. So, and then here's our dyslexia modules. We have a guide for educators and a guide for parents. Those are the 2 things that my colleague Tanya, she really needed that guide for parents, just how do you navigate? And then we have kind of this all access course bundle too. So you can purchase courses individually, or you can do kind of an all access to all of the courses. And it's an annual subscription kind of piece. And I'll come back to that in just a minute and kind of finish up with that. So let me take you into what does this look like? Well, let's say that you purchased or you wanted to engage in the word study, the phonics and more. So once you've purchased it and you click in here, you'll see the course curriculum. So in this particular module, there are 7 sessions. And within session 2, you'll notice that we've really individualized for ages and stages. So preschool, kindergarten, first grade, second grade, and then grades 3 through 12. This is something I felt like was really important because many times when I did presentations on phonics, it was difficult to really tell exactly, you teach 4th grade, this is what you should do. I could teach generalities. So this was a place that I could really do this. And you'll notice that I've included also, I called it word study because it is much bigger than phonics, but I knew people wanted to see the word phonics, but phonics and more, talking about syllabication, talking about orthography, talking about morphology, and going through that science of reading, those aspects of that, right? So when you click on that, just graduate credit and overview, but when you go into session 1, this is what it looks like. And one of the keys that I found that Monica Mernan, she was so much fun to work with at Greenbush, but she said, no, Lori, we need you to do the presentation. Don't just provide PowerPoints and have a facilitator do it. It's you and how you present it and your experiences and all of the things you contribute to that are really important. And she's really the one that pushed us into this whole kind of doing the presentation ourselves, but breaking it up. So in each of the sessions, you're going to find live presentations that have been recorded and professionally edited. So they're easy to listen to. You're going to find activities. You're going to find resources, websites, links, all of those things. And here's that core components document, that research base that we refer to. And then we also use something called a learning to application log. That's where people take notes, record information. That's where they do their action plan at the end. And then, of course, the references at the end of that. So I'll show you just a little bit. I'll play just a little bit of the presentation so you can get a sense of what it feels like as a participant.
Hello, and welcome to this module titled Word Study, Phonics, and More. My name's Lori Winter, and I'll be the facilitator for this module. As we look at the overview for Word Study, we see that it's composed of 7 sessions. We're getting ready to begin the foundational knowledge session, and then you'll work your way through the subsequent sessions. You'll notice during session 2, where you learn about systematic, cumulative, and explicit instruction in phonics and decoding, you'll get to select the particular session that fits with the age or grade of students that you work with most frequently. Or if you want to see the whole developmental continuum, you could watch all of them. Totally up to you. Then we'll move into syllables, orthography, morphology, assessment, and specific populations. And that will complete our module on word study. As we think about this session, the focus questions are, what is word study? How do you decode an unknown word? What is the progression for word recognition? And how does Linnea Aries' research guide teachers' ability to match instruction to a beginning reader's decoding development? Let's get started with a decoding challenge. One really difficult thing for me as a facilitator is.
Okay, so one of the things about this platform is that I can really force people to watch the presentations, and that's how I know they've been through them. Now, I know you can still start dinner and start the recording if you don't want to listen to it, right? But each of the modules have an enforced lecture watching, so they have to make their way through that and, kind of go through it. I think it best works if you're in a PLC or a school or a district group. You can do it individually, but it's really built for people to stop and have discussion and talk about it. So as I finish session 1, they have a job to do. I'll send them away with a task. So at the end of session 1, I'll say, do this in your learning to application log. And then when they start session 2, we start with that activity again, where they can talk with colleagues about it. So I just really kept thinking about, if I were in charge of professional learning, what would I want to happen? If I wasn't really in control of that piece. And then just finally, I'll show you a couple of the 2 documents, the core components and the learning to application log, and then I'll see what kind of questions you have. So let's see if make sure that's shared. Okay, can you see that core components document? Okay, so the core components are, so basically what Diane and I
yes,
did,
I forgot I muted myself.
that's okay. Diane really went out and collected all of the research. She was looking for, groups of research studies. And what we did is we read through them, and then we tried to identify what are the big ideas. And that ended up becoming the core components. So there's some foundational knowledge about phonics that you have to have. And the bullet points on the right are those keys about the foundations of phonics. Like, why is this important? Why should we do this, right? And you'll see that the researcher is cited out to the side. And then systematic, cumulative, and explicit instruction. Hey, that's one of our structured literacy terminologies, right? But what does that mean? What is it? So it talks about what is the systematic cumulative phonics progress or process we should go through. And then we talk about the application of it. How just learning it isn't good enough. What does the research say about applying what we know about phonics? And then the items are over to the side. What about assessment of phonics? And then specific populations would be English language learners and special education. So those 2 areas, what do they say about phonics? So each of the core pieces of reading, so phonological awareness, phonics, vocabulary, comprehension, all of those have a core components document that we use that really drives the whole module. So, can be, again, I was creating a lot of this for LINC. So of course we were using that. And then this is the learning to application log. So it's just basically a short packet that can be printed out. And it has the activities by each session. So the first activity that we ask them to do in here is a matching activity, kind of here's some looking at student writing and trying to figure out what kind of match kids are making, some fill-in, note-taking, a quick write. And then at the end, sorry for the scrolling, is the action plan. So this is in the last session. And we just basically want to know what's spoken to you in this module. What do you think you need to put into practice in the classroom that's really going to make a difference? And what are those action steps that will help you to reach that goal? This is the place where that instructional coach can come in and say, the instructional coach has already been through the word study module. They know the information that's in there. Now it's like, how can I help you implement what it is that you want to implement? And so I think it's just a good, solid way to help transition to implementation and that coaching piece as well. So that's basically what the learning to application log is. Okay, do you have any questions about just what it is, what it looks like, what's in there?
No, I think you gave a good overview of that. So,
okay. So I bet you're thinking cost. What is this cost?
I saw a lot of costs on a variety of individual things and whole things and those things.
Yeah. So we tried to price things like individually. If somebody just wants that one, course, they could purchase that. I really am a fan of all of it, right? You look at it and you think it's like being in a candy store. It's like, I want all of that. I want the sour and sweet, and I want the chocolate as well. Like, I don't just want some of it. So when you look at it individually, if I was just an individual person, I could just purchase one course. We also have like a monthly fee for an individual You could just say, I want to sign up for a couple months, and then I could have all access to everything, $24.99 a month. Or you could say, I want to purchase it all at once and I'll get all access for a year. All of these are annual user subscribers. So you have a year to use them for that cost.
Right.
But you're dealing mostly with groups, right? So you can buy one course if you just want one course. And if you have, depending on the number of people who are taking that course, we can provide discounts. But the same thing if you have, if you wanted to just sign up for Heston to have a monthly subscription to it, you could pay $18.99 per person and say, I'm going to buy it for 4 months. Or you could say, let's just purchase it for the entire school year annually. Then that's $99 per person. And that gives you that 365 days access to everything that you want to do. So those are kind of the costs that we're thinking about. But of course, we're always, everybody has a different situation that's unique. So we're open to, whatever works for everyone. But we want to give you an opportunity to try this if you want to. So I wanted to give you a 2-week free trial.
Okay.
So you can share this with others if you want to share it with others at the Smoky Hills Service Center. If there's some people in Heston you want to do it to, or just some people, key players that you feel like you want them to see what this is. What you need to do is just go to Language and Literacy U and create an account. You have to create an account first.
Right.
And then once you've created the account, go back to the website, log in. And when you're logged in, you enter this URL code in that search bar and just hit return. And then all of those courses will be open to you until November 14th.
Okay.
So I can send you a flyer that gives directions on how to do it with this code and everything like that, that you could forward on and